Yeah.
Okay. And maybe we can parlay him
No,
into
I'm
this
I'm totally.
into this like next one or two rappers to talk about, because I want to ask you how you feel about Lil Wayne. Where is Lil Wayne
Oh
gonna fit into your top 50? I'm assuming he's gonna be top 50 for you, but the real question is he like uh, top 25? Where is he on the bubble
oh
of
no,
over
he's definitely
under?
a top 25. So this is where I mean, and I'll try not to like, because I know this is a casual question. I'm not gonna try to like really dissect what you're asking me, but this is where something like subjectivity versus objectivity really makes itself known because Lil Wayne, yeah, I love Lil Wayne. I don't like really ride for Lil Wayne. Like I've never like I think he has a couple really good albums, and but I think a lot of his music is not bad, but pretty mid. Like I don't really remember a lot of it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's fine. So like that, if I said that to somebody and then was like, "Oh, he's top 10," people will be like, "What?" Like that doesn't sound like you like him.
Yeah.
But and I wouldn't put him top 10, but definitely top 20 because Lil Wayne is like the most influential artist of this generation. Like I would say Lil Wayne and even like weirdly Chief Keef are like the most influential to the sound, especially the southern sound of hip hop right now.
Mm.
And really what I listen to probably second most out of any style of hip hop after like whatever experimental or indie or whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah.
like that trap sound is very Lil Wayne wheelhouse. Like and I would be amiss to not recognize that influence
Mm-hmm.
when I'm putting him in my top 50 rappers. So I think he's top 20 for sure. Uh, I think he's top 20. I'd have to make it, but
Yeah. It's I thought 25 was a good place to start because I think really, I mean, you could go either way. Like I could see somebody making a list that legitimately has him as like the fifth greatest rapper of all time, and that would be kind of crazy to me. But at the same time, it really depends on what you place an importance on, and really how much do you personally like that person's discography, because I'm
right.
sure you have artists who, they're okay to not that great albums. They still carry some weight with you. So I think the thing about the Nas conversation earlier that I was probably carrying with me a lot is like Nas's bottom half of his catalog to me doesn't really like come up often. I don't think about it often. I don't listen to it often, and so it just stays in like sort of a mid place. But someone like Jay-Z, that's a like an artist I care about even in that bottom half of the discography. And this is the other thing that I am having a difficult time assessing the importance of in making this list and comparing rappers is the bottom half of their catalogs. The worst of the worst. And I tend to not really I honestly tend to not put so much stock into the worst albums an artist has. Um, and I think that's kind of different from some people, and I feel like that's probably different from how you see it.
No,
Or
I don't put a lot of weight into that either because then you think about a lot of these top 10 rappers don't have a crazy big catalog. If you look at Biggie, his catalog's not that big, but I mean,
yeah,
am I wrong saying he's top 10? Like how do you really look at the bottom half of his four albums? Like, and I
really,
don't know if
really
that's
his
like
two
that,
albums.
yeah, two albums. But like is that just like are you just going to chalk that up to like oh, he didn't live a long time so he doesn't have a lot of albums, so all of his albums are great? Like I don't want to put a lot of weight into that shit because I can't do it for everybody. That's not objective. I don't know.
Right, because
Like
if he would have lived, if he was alive today, we would guarantee that he would have some not that great albums
yeah.
over time, potentially. Like he may just, well, I guess that's,
Well,
I
most
would assume
likely,
all
but
of our
like
greatest rappers that are going to be on this list have some albums in the middle that are just like clearly they're not adapting to the industry changing like as quick as a Kanye West was ready to do it, you know, like
Or like look at Andre 3000. Like he did pretty much the. I mean, I don't know. Like I can't say, like you would want more music from him, but by him not making any more music, he's kind of done a good job of like not making any trash music.
exactly. It's like the
Like
Jordan
his whole
thing in
catalog's good.
comparison to LeBron. It's like
Right.
one guy won pretty much every time, and he kind of knew the right time to step away from it all. And so that discography, you know, it just, you can't really damage it. And I think that's what he's, you know, afraid of doing, is putting out something that he's not happy with and sort of putting
Right.
a blemish onto his discography that he's not passionate about. Um, and so, and then there are the rappers like, you know, Big and Pac. How do we assess them? Never have, or like a Big L, you know, never really getting to take it to another level, to and then to,
Hmm.
you know, get into a part of their career where like they're a little lost with the changing of the times, and then figuring something else out down the road, having their 444, you know, that they never got to have that. We don't get to assess it in that manner. So um that's what makes it interesting for sure. But someone like Lil Wayne, you know, does live on. He has had several legs of his career. And the beautiful thing about his career is that it spans over these, like, let's see, at the end of the 90s, like literally walking out of the 90s, he, you know, starts to become a name. And then the 2000s is all that early Cash Money stuff. 2007 to the, you know, early mid teens is when Lil Wayne is Lil Wayne, you know, basically that we know now. With the No Ceilings mixtape, Carter 3 is huge, you know, and then there's, you know, that period of his career that there's a lot of really bad albums, and even in his earlier stages, like there's albums that, you know, they may not hold up. So it's tough to. How do you reckon with his back catalog versus someone like Eminem, who we also know has a bunch of bad albums, but we really don't like his bad albums. Lil Wayne we see as like a more likable character, I guess, in a way.
Right. I mean, I don't know. It's unfair for me. Like it's unfair for me to be like, well, I just don't like Lil Wayne, or I just don't like Eminem. Like even his best albums, I just don't like the sound. Like I just don't identify with the music all that much. And Lil Wayne, and that's not to say that they're not like you said, like the main point people make with Eminem is like, well, he's so like lyrically talented, he's so like on point, is skill wise, he's amazing. Yeah, that's all fine, but I still want the music to sound good. And Lil Wayne, you know, he's not Eminem lyricism, but Lil Wayne has like a lot of bars and like a lot of good punchlines. He's like one of those catchy rappers, which is why I say he's so influential on today's game. It's
But
obviously not like lyricism to the level of an Eminem, but the thing is, I like most of his music. Like his best albums are great. His mid albums are mid. They're not great, but I still listen to most of them. And then his worst albums, I don't really have to think about because he's got like 50 fucking albums. Like
right, and
I
that's
don't
the
really got to
thing
worry about it.
too. Like having this discussion in 2020 is really different, I think, because
Right.
who to me, one way of looking at it, and I don't know if this is the final way I come down to it, but basically, who the fuck cares about the worst part of the discography if we're in such a streaming age that you never have to think about it if you
Right.
don't want to. If I don't want to listen to any of the rock albums that Lil Wayne put out, I don't have to. And I could never think
Right.
about it, right? And it's like, so I I personally am starting to lean towards a little bit more of like really just comparing the best of the best. Let's take an
Also,
official
like we
stance here
gotta,
because we haven't. Well, you
yeah,
have, and I haven't. You're saying Lil Wayne more likely than not gonna end up in your top 20 of rappers of all time.
Yeah.
I would say more
I'll
likely
tell
than
you right
not.
now, it's definitely going to be.
Yeah, I would say more likely than not, he would end up in my top 25. I'm really still unsure of how to reckon with those albums that I just don't listen to. I'm just not passionate about. I think are bad. You know, he's had a lot of areas of his career where I'm gonna go and do this, and but so does a bunch of other rappers that will be on my list. Snoop, it's like, what are you
Yeah.
doing, making a Rasta album? Uh, and
Snoop, like
but like
most
I
of the
never
best
listened to that
rappers of all
album because
time.
I didn't have to.
Right.
I never paid for that album to see what it would be like. I never, it's like
Right. Most of the best rappers of all time, and it's just part of the legacy of being such a like huge icon and stuff. Most of the best rappers of all time did something that isn't that good. Like Nas is not safe from that, and I'm not gonna use that against Nas. I just don't think that like the quality of his best albums are really good, but the quantity of really good albums is pretty low. Lil Wayne has like a handful of really good albums,
actually,
and maybe
what's
not nothing as good as Illmatic, but like
see, and this
it's
conversation
still a
is
lot.
so confusing because too, how do you weight the fact that Lil Wayne has had so many mixtapes and albums, so
Right.
many, like way more than Nas, and Nas and him, I think honestly have probably like the same amount of really good, really notable records and projects. So to me, that is the reason to have Nas pretty high. It's the reason to have Lil Wayne in there, but not so high. So again, I'm contradicting myself because it does matter to me, like, you know, how many bad albums you put out between how many good albums you have.